Hey guys, welcome, Smarter Parenting Team. So I figured that we might not have a lot of time before we shoot our next video to go over how to use a DSLR. So I thought I would record a little tutorial for us on how to use a DSLR camera for filming, that is. And so what I want to go over with you guys is what you're going to be doing specifically, because I don't need to teach you all about how to set the camera up, how to get the lighting right, or any of that. All I need to show you how to do is basically to point and shoot. But this is not as easy to point and shoot as even like a home camera. You'll notice that if I walk close, I'll get out of focus. So I'm getting out of focus right now. If I step back too far, I'll be out of focus again. All right, so there's basically only three things I want to go over. I want to go over kind of the buttons on the camera. I'm only going to scratch the surface of that because you don't really need to know all the technical things that the camera can do. Leave that up to me when I'm setting up the shot. Second thing is how to frame a picture. Because I'll always be asking you to frame it this way or that way, and I want you to know what I'm talking about. And the third thing is how to focus the camera. Once again, focusing is probably the biggest, most important thing we have to do, and it's hard. It's hard with these DSLRs because they don't autofocus for you. But I'm going to show you how to focus, and I'm going to show you the buttons. So let's get started. Okay, so what we have right here is we have one of our DSLR cameras. This is not the same camera that I'm using to film this, but it's very similar. And so if you recognize some of these buttons, you'll have no problems operating the other camera as well. So what we're going to do first is we're actually going to turn on the camera. To turn on the camera, there's a switch right here. I don't have a vertical view for you, but it's pretty easy to remember that you just pull that over and you're on. This is your viewfinder, obviously, no brainer. Right here is your start and stop button. If I click this, I am going. If I hit this off, I'm stopped. And how do you know you're going? It's because of that red button up there. So pay attention, because I have made so many mistakes where I thought I was recording, but I really wasn't recording. And so I thought I would start it, and really I was stopping it. So I was recording during the pauses when I didn't want to, and that's really frustrating. You don't want to make that same mistake. Another thing, there's a switch right here. See how that white thing is now pointed towards this little camera? Well, now we are on picture mode. So now is where we take pictures, right? So you take a picture by pulling on the picture mode, or on the trigger on the front, and you took a picture. But you don't need to know pictures, but you do need to know, just in case you were to pick up one of these and you wanted to go shoot something yourself, where you didn't need to know a lot about the camera. If you wanted to just start it up, you would think that you're going right now, but you're really not. So this viewfinder is just showing you what you're going to see when you take a picture. If you hit this, you just turn off the viewfinder, and it might be frustrating if you didn't know that you are actually in camera mode. So what you need to do is you need to go over to video mode. Now we are in video mode. You can tell because these black bars, the pictures are actually cropped in. So before it was a 4:6 ratio, and now it's a 16:9 ratio. This is our menu. You don't really need to remember anything. Info, that helps a little bit. Sometimes I'll want to catch audio from a few different angles. So I might attach a small boom mic on this camera, or a shotgun mic on this camera. And right here, you see the audio. And that's kind of nice. So you can pay attention to where the audio is peaking. Right now, I'm not sure if you can see because of the glare, because we have glare right here, but the audio is actually too strong. So the audio must be on manual, because I keep seeing it peak all the way into the red right here. It's pretty hard for you to tell, but it's going all the way to the end, and that's no good. You don't want to have that happen. Another thing which is going to happen is what just happened right now, which is the camera is going to turn off. Why does the camera do that? Well, I can change that, but right now the camera is actually just in sleep mode. So how do you get it to turn back on? You just hit this button again, and it'll kick back up. So I think it's like a minute or 2 minutes, and it turns off automatically, which can be frustrating, but it also saves battery, because running the viewfinder like this is what takes the most battery, not the actual recording process. So it takes about the same amount of battery to actually just viewfind right now as it is to actually hit the record button and record. Good stuff to know. So what are these other buttons? This play button, you'll want to have this play button because it's important. This play button is obviously what you think it is. You play the videos. And you can tell it's a video because it's got this little video icon. So when you hit the center button right here, which is set, all of a sudden it opens up a mini menu where you can choose what to do with the video. So I can hit play. And now we are playing and we're reviewing our video, which is nice after you shoot something to do a quick review on here before you go into your post editing. So how do you get out of there? Well, you can just hit menu, or you can hit play again. So we are back. Info right here. Half the time you don't want to see all this stuff. There's so much going on and you're thinking, what is all that stuff? Well, most of the time, oh, what's this? You don't even want to go there. So right here, I hit menu, info. So now we're not showing anything. But you might be wanting to show this right here, this is the camera. So what does this info button do? Well, right here we are on a blank screen, and if I hit this info button again, it'll show me some information, more information, even more information, and then back to no information. And for us, your purposes, you want to have this on the first one where it shows some information. Now remember, these cameras are very manual, so in order to operate them, you choose things to have the camera do. So I'm not going to go through a lot in detail, but here's some basics that you will want to know. So down here, you have a bar right here, and you can see that it's just beyond the 1. What is that telling you? That's telling you that it's a little bit overexposed, which is okay depending on what you're trying to light up. So what the camera's telling you is that it's a little bit more than what the camera thinks is normal. Now that's because probably I set that. So look, I'm using this wheel and I am scrolling. So most of the time whenever you shoot anything, just have it on this. That's a good auto setting where the camera will figure out what to do for you. Now you notice that as I scroll this, it gets darker. As I scroll this, it gets lighter. This is an easy way to use this if there's something really bright in the background, and if you have a head in your picture and then you have a window behind it or something, and the window's so bright that the camera is auto exposuring to you don't need to know that. Never mind. Just keep it on this for right now. That's all you need to know. All right, so I am going to go over how to focus your camera and why it's very important. And yeah, so like making sure your camera's recording. So remember, right now it's just off. It's just in sleep mode. So remember, make sure you record by hitting this button. You can see that red light. That's super important. Hit that, turn off. Second most important thing is make sure you're focused. So important. And I'm going to show you why this is very deceiving and why you think that you might be focused on something when there's a good chance that you're not completely focused. So what I wish I had another camera so I could show you this camera angle, and maybe I'll just pick up the camera and I'll shoot some B-roll of me twisting the lens so you see what's going on. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to twist a lens right here. And what I'm doing is I'm actually taking things in and out of focus. So if I wanted to get this pole in focus right here, I would turn this until it looks like it's in focus, right? Well, let me turn it back on. It fell asleep again. So right now, I guess that looks like it's pretty in focus, right? Well, that's the problem, is that we're looking at this tiny screen and we can't tell if things are perfectly in focus or not. And we want things to be as in focus as we can get them. And how do you do that? Well, luckily we have a cool button right here. See this magnifying glass button? If we hit this button, it'll zoom in. Cool, huh? So I just zoomed in. Now, obviously, I zoomed in on the center of the picture, which is where the chalkboard is. So you see this little dial right here? So I can actually just navigate this. So look, I am super zoomed in now. I'm not sure if I hit that magnifying button once or twice. I think with this camera, you only hit it once and it zooms into 10, whereas with the other camera, you can zoom into 5 times 5 and then times 10. So right now, it actually looks like we're quite a bit in focus, but now watch. Since I zoomed in, and now I'm going to use this focal ring right here, I can get this in even better focus. There. So now we are in really good focus. So now, when I hit this button again, oh, look, oh, never mind, it's this camera that zooms in. So look, now I know I'm in perfect focus. So now if I hit this again, I know that this thing right here is in perfect focus. That is really nice. And so I want you guys to get in the habit of doing that when we're shooting our viral videos, because that is what's super important, to get that dead focus, that perfect aim. Now, it's also really easy to bump this, right? And then all of a sudden you out of focus. Well, just learn to do it fast. And usually it doesn't take very long. And now I am focused. So, really nice feature right here. And I want you to use it, especially when we're doing those very specific things. So this feature, this zoom in feature is really nice. Very helpful. It gets it spot on. Another thing which you can do is you can actually use a quick focus. But I don't want you to rely on that. You can use that quick focus. I want you to use the quick focus for things like when we shoot activities and we just want it to be generally in focus. So I'm actually going to take the camera off right now so we can see. Now, right now I'm zoomed in with the camera. While I'm taking this off, let me explain something. The way cameras work, the further you're zoomed in, the shallower your depth of field is, meaning that literally the top of my fingers are not quite in focus. You see this? But yet this is, meaning that's like half an inch. And so you have this tiny depth of field. When the further you're zoomed in, the tinier depth of field you have. And so that's why when you're zoomed in on people's faces, when you see the movies and they're zoomed in on somebody's face, the background is just a complete blur. It's because you have this tiny depth of field. Now we can change that depth of field manually, and you won't need to know that. I'll do that for you. But for some of the shots we do want to have that shallow depth of field because it looks very cinematic, and that visually it looks crisp and strong, and it takes people's attention and focuses it on what you want them to be focused on. So I'm going to zoom this back out. So now, literally, my hand is focused. It's in focus all the way to here. It loses focus about right there. So now, just by me zooming out a little bit, we expanded about 2 inches in our focus. Now, the camera is actually on its mode where it's on the shallowest focus. But so usually you'll have more room because I'll set it up. Or usually you'll have more wiggle room because I'll set it up that way. What did I want to show you? Oh yeah, the quick mode. So there's a quick mode that you can learn by doing this. Let's take this off. All right, so now I just took this off. Well, oh, how did I bring that back to life? Well, I brought it back to life because I used this. But don't do what I just did, because sometimes people think that they're turning it back on, and when really they're focusing it. So right now, my lens, this is my autofocus, and my autofocus is on. And see this dot right here? That's where I'm telling the camera to focus. Now let's say that we had this laying here again, and this dot wasn't, let's say this dot was back in the center of the picture. As soon as I hold this down, it'll try and focus on whatever is back there. And when it hits that green button, then it tells me it's focused. So, so I can aim this here and I can go, oh, I want to focus on that thing. Oh, focused. And it's pretty well focused, but it's not perfect. So you can use this quick focus most of the time. Now keep in mind, it doesn't focus while we're actually filming. Once we're filming, I can hold this down as much as I want. I'm holding it down, and it's not changing. So you have to get your shot set up before you start filming. Very important. There's all these rules, and I'm trying to remember them all the best I can. All right, so the last thing I want to go over with you guys is how to compose the picture. So we went over focusing and the buttons of the camera, but I want to show you how to compose a picture. Now right now, my head is out of the picture, which you don't want. Actually, let me come down. This is about kind of the right composition. So many people make this mistake when they're filming or shooting pictures, is that they put the person's head at the center of the picture. This is not where you want. This is not where you want to have the composition of the picture. You'll see that you have all this extra space. The space up top is very unattractive to the eye, so we don't want to have it down here. So let me come back to here. I am splitting a little bit, but for filming things like narrating me to the camera, you can put me straight in the center of the picture. Why? Because it's almost a little frustrating to the eye, almost a little bit, that I'm just dead center in the picture and I'm looking straight at the picture. It gives you this sense that I'm actually talking to you, which is what YouTubers do so well right now with their channels, is they set something up where they'll sit here and just talk straight into the camera at the center of the camera, and usually they'll have a blank background. So when we're shooting things like parents talking to the camera, yeah, you'll probably want to set something up like this. Maybe even closer. Now it's going to get out of focus because there's nobody behind the camera, but this composition is about right. So my head can be right near the top of the picture. It can even be touching. My mouth is close to the center of the picture. My eyes are just above the center line of the picture, the equator of the picture. Let's think. Yeah, so this is good. It's a little bit up close. Problem with being up close is you don't get a lot of hand movements. You don't get the gestures of what's going on. So the closer I get, which obviously I'm way out of focus now. Here, let me see if I can focus this real quick. So if I'm this close, this is where you get the drama of the picture, is right here. Now, you're not going to need to be this close when you're shooting the interviews, just like parents talking to the camera. You'll want to be back there again. But when we do shoot our dialogue pictures of our viral videos, this is how close you'll want to be for some of those dialogue pictures. What you will want to do though, is you'll want to off-center the picture a little bit. And it all depends on where I'm looking. So if I am looking this way, you'll want to off-center me this side. So if I'm talking to somebody right here and saying, hey, how are you doing? This is where you want to have me off-center, about right here. And you can always get closer if you want. This is actually an okay place to be. Now I'm actually standing really close to the camera, so it's distorting some fisheye, but if I were to zoom in more, the more you zoom in, And then I come back here. Let's see if I can do this like a hero. Figuring out where it's going to focus with that one. So from right here, if I'm standing right here and I'm talking to somebody, you off-center me to this side because I'm looking this way. If I was looking this way, you'll want to have me off-centered this way. And you can see that I'm just in focus right now. So if I was talking to somebody right here, this is how you'd want to put me. Look at any movie, anything, watch any movie, and they all follow these rules. Some don't. Like, you know, you'll get your Sundance Film Festival ones that think outside the box, and there's always movies out there that break the rules. The King's Speech, that broke tons of rules, but the way that they shot it was awesome. So, but we're not going to try and be pioneers on getting these crazy images. We're going to play it safe. We're going to play by the rules, which is what I was showing you. So the same thing. If I was talking to somebody, you want me slightly off-centered if I'm looking this way. If I'm looking this way, you want to off-center me this way, because it looks weird if I'm off-centered looking this way. But you'll notice it's okay if I'm standing right here looking this way, because this is my box. My hands can come up here, make all sorts of gestures. There's an invisible line rule, which you probably don't need to know too much of, but I'll tell you anyways. In movies, most of the time they make like a line and they don't cross it. So let's pretend that you're aiming your camera at me right here. Let's pretend we have fake cameras. Let's say I am a fake camera and I am aiming right here. Or let's pretend I am a camera, not a fake one. But let's pretend I'm aiming right here. If this is my line right here, I do not cross it this way. If I crossed it this way, that means I have a new line, which is more like this. So if I'm aiming here, it's hard to explain on video. So if I'm aiming right here and I have a line that's going from the camera to the whiteboard, if I'm standing right here, my other camera would have to be angled this way. I do not put a camera anywhere angled that way or this way, so it looks awkward. And so it's another movie rule that we use. So, and if you didn't understand what I was just saying, don't worry about it. Yeah, that's pretty much it, I think. Jeez. I don't know. Can't think of anything else. All right. It's going to have to do.